Hello and welcome to day 14 of our World Watercolor Month challenge, the daily challenge. And today we will be looking at a dessert that displays the French tricolour, as today is the 237th anniversary of Bastille Day. So let me show you what we are going to try today. There you go. So this tricolour recipe or illustration food is going to be it's going to be full of berries, reds and dark blues and cream, and let's see how well we can do this. Alright, off we go. First off, picking our colors. Oops. So we are going to have reds, pinks and blue, dark blue, that's for sure. Maybe a little bit of purple, but this is more indigo, followed by a case of black. Black darkens everything, so we really need to keep black there. And then we could also have a little bit of there's a little bit of what I see as brown, so let me just zoom in and look at it. Yeah, some sort of a brown, so I'm going to just put that in here, brown. And I'll keep this also in the picture. Okay, let's get on with it. Colors are out and I'll start illustrating. So here are our colors and let's get started. Today I use a pencil to draw. There's not much to draw, it's rectangular, so we're going to have to do that. Some sort of a shape here that's a bit rectangular. Squiggly lines. And I am not even sure what this dessert is. There's more around it, but I'll put another one here. I should check out this recipe. I mean, not the recipe, but the dessert itself, what it is. Okay, so we'll make two pieces. On this, we have some whisked cream, which has lovely shapes. Instead of drawing the shapes, I will just draw the general form of that cream, which is somewhat curved like this, right? And a little bit like this. And we have a top view of the dessert that we're looking at. So from a top view, we see these whisks. So I'm being very fuzzy with the drawing. You can see this. No clear lines, no lines, no waves, nothing. What I am going to spend a little more effort with are these berries, some nice big berries, reddish in color, but definitely not strawberries. Okay, and obviously this is a piece cut from somewhere, so the berry here is kind of cut in half. Then there are these circular red berries, nice shiny berries. A few of these are going to feature. Overlapping. Some small over here, some large over here. Okay, so the berries are done. Then we have some what looks like blueberries. Again, a nice curvy shape. And we did blueberries not too long back when we illustrated that what was it that we did? Forget which day it was. A cupcake? Yeah, I think it was a cupcake. Behind these we have, maybe these are the blueberries and these ones are something else. Yeah, these may be blueberries, and these have those, you know, that those shapes. There's one over here, one sitting underneath. Now what's happened is there is an overlap of a little color, of that brown color that comes here. So just to remove the earlier line I made. Yeah. Now for the second one we have very clear border. So there was a border here too, which I'm not going to go into too much detail. Same things, not very different. In fact, I can't see all the swirls in the picture, so I'm just going to make a few shapes that look roundish. Yeah, and next to those we have some big berries. I'm becoming my own chef. Big berries. Same on the other side, but these will be dark navy blue, almost black. But a nice, they have a nice um, border. The blueberries, the actual blueberries, where we show centers like this, right? Blueberry here, sticking out, and the small red berries, which are over here. These are the shiny ones, and I have to find out what they are exactly, because I don't know what berries shine like this. Then there is that border. Done. This is it. We are not going to be drawing anymore because the rest of it needs to be filled in with color. To start off, base colors, I'm just going to put in some, and this is, I'm repeating myself for those who are new and have not heard this over the last few days, but hello to those who've joined. Thanks for joining. I'm not sure if you've been around since I started earlier this month, but so there's the first brown along the edges, right? And because this is our first wash, first color, I'm not I'm using it this way. I'm directly applying it onto the paper. We will do all the darkening and lightening later. Then comes the maybe the blues, because we are on this side. Let's start with the blues, and I'll be very honest, there is a little bit a sense of purple only in this one. You see, a very light purple in these big ones, the ones that have that you know, what looks like a I don't know what to call it, berry like border. Oh no, grape like border. Oh, I don't know, I'm just using the wrong word. Okay, these are our blueberries, which I'm going to just use what looks like ultramarine blue to me, right? And I'm only putting it in along the side of the berry, leaving a little bit of white space. That is for the highlight. Hello. Hello to all those who've joined. Thank you for being here. So here are my blueberries. What I'm mostly trying to do is ensure that the shape, that round shape, is achieved. Let the highlight be. We can add the details later. So here's another one. Okay. In fact, when we add the details, we will be adding more than just highlight. We will have to add more color as well. A little bit of darkening black as well, because these are not really blue. Okay, and since we've already applied a little bit of purple, a very gentle bit of blue on top of that purple will also be good. That will help you to fill up that berry with a shade, with a hint of blue. See? Otherwise it will become entirely purple. So just a hint of blue. When we wet it, you'll see how it looks. Okay, next is the cream, which I don't want to touch right now. It's all beige, almost white with shadow. So we will go on to the reds. Now here there are two berries. This berry is pinker, this berry is redder. So I'm just going to lightly apply an outline. So let me try the outline first. That's more important. This is important. And then the inside can be a gentle application of pink. Same thing again here. Curve. I'm checking that the border is maintained. Put a gentle bit of pink, and this one too. In fact, this pink is actually going out of the. It's as if this dessert has been cut, right? Changing to a reddish color. I will do exactly what I did with the blueberries. Basically, fill this up and leave a nice bright mark on the left side. So that I have that shine automatically. Almost all of these berries have a little bit of white shine. Okay. There. What shall I do with this? That is going to be the last of my colors. I'll show you what I'll do with it. So since I have the red in my hand, I'll go ahead and do these as well. There you go. Using watercolor pencils exactly in the way they are used most commonly. They're mostly used this way. Then comes the pink. Gentle pink. And we will darken this later. Okay. And as far as black is concerned, we can put in a few shades at a few places, just a little bit, just to indicate that yes, there's a little bit of shadow out here. A little bit of shadow. Same thing goes here. A little bit of thickness where we can put in a shadow. Same here. Very gentle. Black is very vibrant, so you might want to be gentle with this application. Okay, done. This is it. This is all I will do with direct application. Now while this is before this is going to be colored in, I pull out my palette, which is quite dirty already because I've been doing this for the last few days, but I am going to pull out a little bit of pigment, and as always I will show you how this is. Yeah, that's my rough paper. I've been showing everyone how to sharpen their pencils with a blade the last few days, but in addition to the fact that I'm doing this so that I get some bit of the pigment to scrape, the other reason I do this instead of just using a sharpener is that the sharpener usually does not give you a nice long point. It gives you a short one, so you're going to use up the pigment and then find yourself sharpening repeatedly because the point is quite short. When you do this with a blade, your point can be quite long. Let me show you. I'm reaching the point now. See, if you do this carefully, you will actually get a long bit of point. Oops. But you do this very carefully because you're coming very close at this point to the pigment, and you don't would like to avoid losing any of it. See, there. See that point? Now this point I'm going to shave onto my palette, right? I need this pinkish color, so I put it into my palette, into the existing well that contains reddish color. So I'll just put in if you're observing, you will see I'm only getting the shaving of the pigment in, not the wood. So be very careful about this. Done. With that red, we will get onto the red, red. Now this red is a lighter version. It's not pink, it's completely red. So I'll just take a little bit out. See, what I mean is the point of a sharpened pencil, a sharpened pencil, is usually so small you hardly get any color out of it. See, you've already lost the point. So just be careful with this. We'll need to sharpen that later. Next we have the blue. We have a lot of blue already. So into that, see this is blue. So into that I'm going to scrape a little more, right? Okay, that should be enough. Yes. And finally I will scrape in a little bit of what I think is yellow ochre. I need a little bit of it just to make a wash consistency with shade for the cream. Okay, this much done. Let's get the spray bottle out. Actually I should just put water. Maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, just leave it. Oh, we need the black. Yeah, that should do. Waking up the paints. With my medium-sized brush, I will just wet everything. For this wetting, where's my jar of water? Sorry about that. Jar of water is right here, and tissue because we'll be doing some cleaning. So let's start with this border. Dab in a little bit of water. You can do both the brown borders at the same time. So activate your brown. Make sure the edges are captured. That's it. Use the same wet brush to do the same thing on this side. Same thing here, but I'm just making sure that all the pigment is awake and we have activated the paint adequately. There you go. Done. Now clean your brush. Let's go in with the, I'd like to do the bigger berries first. So let's start with this light portion of the berry. Move into the darker portion. That will just make sure that there is a slight shading in our shape. And as you can see, it's more of the purple that's starting to show. Although this is not going to be the case later, we're going to see more dark bluish black. Okay, since that is still on, let's do this here as well. Now you may notice that the shape of the berry which we had taken care of, or at least tried to take care of, has not really come through. We will fix that when we go in with a darker color, so don't worry about it right now. Next, clean that off. Let's do the red. Always remember, our first wash is a base color. It is not what you're going to see at the end, at the very end. So this has to be light. This has to be very gentle, soft. The darker border here has really made a difference. It's holding the shape of the berry itself, which did not happen here. So not that it's a worry, just a point to note. Okay, those are your berries. Then come the last of the berries, which is the red ones, not the pink ones. So these are the red ones. Okay, now the shines are still maintained, but you can clean your brush at this point and just gently, maybe with it later. Let's do this later because I'm worried I'll lose the shine. So let's leave the shine, and we'll soften it a bit afterwards with a smaller brush. This brush is a big one, and so we have to be a little careful, because if we cover up some white space we do not want to cover up, you're not going to get it back, and it's a shame. So just let it be darkened this way. Next, I'm tempted to give this creamish consistency a little bit of a yellow color. So you will see that I have taken that yellow ochre, pulled it out, made it very watery, super watery. So there's just a very light sense of yellow. See, it's too light, and because it's watercolor, um, it will really stay that way, light, very light. It will probably lighten because it's nice and soft, and it's okay. We want a little shading. We'll go over this with a little bit of gray, so don't worry about that. And then here's the little border of black we had applied, remember? Same thing here. See, few little. So the little blacks we've left have helped us get a grayish color in, right? Oops, that's not looking gray. I think I may have touched a red, and that's why it mixed a bit. Now we haven't finished these blues, so let me just clean my brush again. Start from the center, go outward. Clean your brush, start from the center, go outward. Clean your brush, start from the center, go outward. Now this clean your brush business can be a little tiring. It happens to me often. I just keep going from one to the next, and then I don't get that white. See this white? At best you can do 2 at a time so that you can save a little time, but other than that you can't really do many. On to the other next one. Cleaning the brush is important because you're going to gather pigment as you go from one berry to another, and that will take away that white or the shading that you are hoping to achieve. Okay. Alright, with this much done, I'm going to stop the use of my big brush and get on to my small brush. Small brush is a size 0. Let me just pull it out. Very pretty brush. It helps you put in so much of detail. It's really beautiful. While these others are drying, I'm going to try and get a little bit of design and shape over here. So for this, I will touch the red with the black and come and mix it in with that yellowish, yellow ochre mix that I had. Just very gently, one drop of it. So it does not have a fully um, black look. Okay, it has a touch of yellow, just a wee bit. So if you feel that yellow is gone off, you can add in a little more and a touch of yellow. Yeah. Now let's start putting a few shapes. So one shape is this, like a fan or a shell. Maybe that's a better example. A shell. Making these, you see the curves between the cream, or the shape of the cream that it's sticking on. Put in a little bit of that shadow here in the gap, over here in the gap. Okay, so this is all indicative of the fact that shadows are forming around the cream. Then we have one more shape here. So again, right over here a little bit, so a little bit of texture on those middle things, and straight away there seems to be some definition. Next, so you can also put these in the little spaces between our berries. Wherever you find little space, this dark shade is actually good. Okay, here, here. We can darken it slightly by putting in another dot of black. This is too dark, but it is possible. You can have a little bit of dark. Okay, so that gives the cream some bit of color. Now I'll go on to this shape, this one. So for this, we have to take a little bit of the blue, add it to the purple at one corner. I'm going to take a little more blue, add it to this purple at the corner, and put in a little bit of black into that as well. We want to deepen the color so that it becomes a bluish black color. And then we are going to put some shapes. we are going to put some round shapes because the berry has these little tiny bulges. Now as we come up higher and higher, these bulges have to have more white in them. See? So you can make them big, have some white. You can finish off your berry this way. Once this is done, you can make those whites slightly smaller just to make it less shiny. So let's do this again for the next one. Start with this portion, quite dark. At this end, I have less shine, more dark, followed by start of these shapes. Start making the centers a little bigger so they have white. After which you can start reducing the space a bit. See how that berry is transforming? One more berry. So the closest portions over here do not have a shine, so we are going to just make what looks like black circles all over here. And then start making slightly bigger shapes that have whites in them, like this. Exaggerate it initially, but afterwards you can reduce the size of the white by simply dabbing around. See, that takes care of that. Next we're going to go in with the blue, and the blue ones are actually more blue and less purple. So we are going to just dip into the blue. I have my blue over here. Just dip into the blue and let's start putting outlines. So this outline is the darkest part. In fact, it's not even blue, it's almost black. But I'm just putting in the blue because I want the blue shade to stand out. See? I need some part of this berry to be covered in blue before I can darken it. So here's a little bit here too. In fact, here it's more dark, right? And then while it is wet, you can dip into the blackish color and just put a wee bit. Oh, why are the words escaping me? A wee bit along the edges. Now, if your paint has dried, this is probably not going to work very well. In which case, wet it again and come back with a little blue and just spread it around. Okay. Now, here somewhere, I have to take the black and make the little covering, or the blue or the black, and make the little heads. See, we see over here a little bit of a head. Same way over here, there is one that is dark. This is one here. Over here there's almost nothing, so I can just clean my brush and go back with a little bit of blue. Clean my brush, and with a wet, slightly damp brush, not wet brush, we can put in a little bit of color. If you feel that you want to put one more berry in here somewhere in between, do so. It won't have a shine, there's no problem. It can help fill up this space. Same thing can be done with the darker color so that it looks like it's part of the berry. See, for example, the berry has left too much of a gap, so you could do such things. Okay, now this half is getting done. Before we go to the other half. I just want to check on the border. The border is brown, but we need to make it slightly darker. And I may not have taken, let me just check if this is brown. Okay, so I do have a little bit of brown. Put a little bit of black. Okay, now I'm going to add in a shading, and I'd like to make this a little lighter so that I can make the shading. See? That's it, just so that there's some discrimination between the two colors that we put in, and we want to show that there is some sort of something happening there. That's it. Now on to this side. Here I'm going to take that light color and just put in a little bit of shading here. Over here too. Let's go on to the remaining berries. Pink. So I need to get my pink is over here. Right? This is pink. The pink is a little bit deeper than this. So what I'll do is onto the pink I will put a little bit of the purple. Just a wee bit. So that it has a tinge. And we are going to do exactly what we did for these berries. We are going to make those round shapes on the berries, on the pink body, and as we go higher those berries are going to become a little lighter as well as bigger circles so that the white shows. So I'm not dipping in the paint again. In fact, if I do dip in the paint, I will just drop in some darkness over here like this. So this is shading. Right side or this side will be light, that side will be dark. If you want to darken this a little further, just pull out a little more purple, little more pink, just a wee bit more of the purple. That's become quite dark, but I will still drop it in here. See, shadows over here, over here. There's no harm in having those, right? So this is important. Okay, let's get on to the next. We could have done that even later. Let's pull out a little more pink, put a bit of purple into it. You know, it gives it a slightly bluish tinge. Oh, that's not right. I think I mixed black. So let me pull out a little more pink. This happens when you forget what you mixed and which purple you're taking. So I'll take purple that is straightforward. Yeah, there you go. See? And now let's do the same thing quickly. Doesn't take time. As we go higher, we are going to make the circles a little wider. And I'm going to continue with the last one as well. In fact, here I can't show too much of contrast because it's all coming under the light. So I will drop in that dark color over here and a little bit over here. So this is why is this happening? Because the cream is kind of putting a shadow on the berry, if that makes sense. Yeah, so let me put that darker color one more time at a few places over here and a little bit over here. There. Pink berries are done. Now on to the red berries. So the color here is nice and dark, and I'm going to outline. Always remember that's the best way to get the berry going. Start the outline, and this time what I'll do is I'll put all the outlines so that the paint starts to thin on my brush as well. Right, so outline. And then just press down at a few places and just smudge it. Smudge what you put on the border, okay, but it's still wet, so you can smudge it and it will cause some sort of a shading. Now if you want to darken this, go into the pink, pull out a little bit of that pink, to which you can add a little bit of black, very little. Now we just want a darker shade, so the darker shade will come in over here, and then where these joints come in, then a little bit over here, right? So on this side where so this side, because of the other berry, you have to show a little bit of darkness. That's it. Finally, the last part, which is the brown that we used last time. Just be careful how you put it in patches. Yep, that should do. Now as it turns out, I'm looking at the picture, this little bit is already coming into this part of the, as if it got cut, as if that berry got cut, so it's coming out a little bit, and that's it. We don't need to do anything more. Maybe half a berry over here. Yeah, I think so. Just a half a berry here so that we can show. That should be it. That's it. First one done. On to the second. Now what this dessert is, I do not know. I have to check this out. But can you see how much the shading adds to the final picture? It's really beautiful. Starting with the grey. Where is my grey? Yellow with a hint of black. Now I think this is already too dark, so I put in a dot of water, a little more yellow, and that should be it. Now let's do the next one. When you're painting with pencil colors this way, you have to be careful not to pick up any of the pigment that may not have dissolved. This is exactly what happened right now. The pigment that did not dissolve sometimes gets carried on to the brush. So be a little careful, watch out. Sometimes if that pigment is wet enough still, it will leave a stain on a dark blotch. Now in this case the color is not so dark, so it's okay. But maybe imagine a bright red, yellow color coming in and just staining the paper before you've had time to pick it up. So be careful. Okay, done. I'll come back and put the black later. Let's get on to the dark purple. So we are mixing blue and black. Add a drop of water to make it let's check. Dark enough? Yep, looks dark to me. You can make a few adjustments to your berries. If you feel they are not big enough or you want to change the shape, go ahead and do that right now when you are adding this detail, because you've only drawn yourself a guide, nothing more, right? So you can do all this. We want that outline, that flowery, that ribbed or whatever, some sort of a, I can't get the word. like little nodules. Yeah, nodules are probably the closest thing to. Now comes the blue. We start with the blue, go around, clean that up with a little bit of water, add a little bit of water, lighten your color a bit, and then just smudge it around your borders, so that makes that border less like a line. You'll see less of a line. Yeah. Now we're going to add black to this, but we're going to wait for it to dry a little bit more. Next, let's see if we can do the brown. And while we are at it, let's go to the other side and just do the other one as well, which is nice and flowery shaped. Just a wee bit of touching. Yeah, done. In between, we can add a little bit of that creamish color, the gray, but if you feel your paint has not dried or you don't want to play around with it too much, you can just leave it. Our pinks. Back to pulling out some pink, putting in some blue or purple. See? You instantly get a nice dark color. And now I've got some pigment. Okay, let's go in with a deep shade, small circles. Now, bigger circles and less paint, less intensity of paint. Maybe a few drops here and there, but that's it. Bigger circles. Immediately we can go in with a little bit of that darker color. We said we add a little bit of black to it, just a wee bit. And with that darker color, we can add some shading over here, here, between the two berries, at some point over there. See, out here. And definitely some here. Done. Onto the red. Red outlines first. This will also make sure that the outline is the darkest application of the color, which is what it is. Clean your brush, smudge. A bit of the darker color. Just a wee bit at a few places, like here, where they where they touch. At this point, I want to say shady corners because that's where some shadow work is playing around. I can do that to the other side as well, a little bit more. See, just a wee bit of darkness, smidge of darker color. Okay, and off to some little bit of black, which we are going to make gray. Let me see if I can get that gray. Yes, I can. So gentle bits, lines, thin lines. This could be done, with a pencil as well. But since I have my a little bit of darkness over here, there's a stand of my brush. See, a little bit here, a little bit here. Done. Now this portion is a little darker than last time, the other side. So I'll just put in a little bit here and a little bit here. I don't know why it's darker, but the picture shows that it is a little dark. Done. I don't have much of a shadow for this particular piece because we're looking at it directly from the top. At best, you can put a thin line here, just a thin one, a very thin one right here and on this side. Same thing here, a thin line. See? So there's a sense of, yeah, okay. And if it's fun, if you find this part fun, you could just, for the sake of just whimsy, bring in a ribbon, a nice blue shade coming in, flattening out, becoming fat over here. And a bit of nice red also coming in from the side. To indicate a ribbon. A little bit of that ribbon, maybe a little bit on this side. So I'm just enjoying myself here. A little bit of that ribbon coming in from, you know what? I did not think of this, but maybe I can just maybe make a little bit of a, let's do this, it's good fun. Since we're having fun, since I'm having a lot of fun, and most of you must be sleeping now, let's put in a spoon over here because I have space. Let's make a nice big spoon. Okay, put in some color. That's it, nothing more. In fact, the edge of the spoon, I take my, I even go in at this edge, make a small border as if it's attaching itself to the spoon to indicate that that spoon is shining at the edge, or not shining, well, I don't like the shape of my spoon, it's not so great. Okay, I'm gonna have to make do with that. And then somewhere at the top of my spoon I'll put in a little bit of a darker shade here to indicate some shading. Clean that brush, it's not nice color. There, see? And then I have a similar dark shade over here, just to indicate the spoon is getting over, and this part of the spoon is also a little darker. See? Isn't that cute? Okay, I'm going to assume you all said yes, that is cute. I like it. Next, I'm going to why did I put the spoon? I put the spoon because I wanted a ribbon, and I've forgotten about the ribbon. Oh dear. So let's make a ribbon come out from somewhere here, maybe here. So the ribbon's got to, okay, I know I'm doing something really funny, so I want to be careful that I don't make a mistake. This is the ribbon. It comes in this way and it turns, so keep that in mind. What have we touched? The red? Yes, the red. So if we touch the red on this side of the ribbon, when it turns over, it's on this side, right? Now we do the same thing with the blue. Come from this side, nice and big, nice and fat. Oh, the blue is quite dark. Let's take a lighter version. As you can see, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do. You don't need to worry too much. You've already brought in ribbon, obviously has a little bit of a shadow, so I'm going to touch on a little bit of that gray and put a little shadow to the ribbon. Same for the spoon, a tad, bit of a shadow. That's it, not much. Leave it. Don't get too carried away. I'm already carried away. Alright, day 14 of 31. Thanks everyone. See you all tomorrow.